Hey guys, it's Kels back at it again with another video, another Friday night live. I promised you guys that each and every Friday night I would go live and show my face. So here I go, back at it again with another video. You know the deal. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Let me know where you are watching from and what you are sipping on. And we'll go ahead and get started for tonight. We are a few minutes late, but better late than never. We are on to week 28 of our Friday night kickback. So if you are catching us live, if you are watching us live now, appreciate you. And if you are catching us on the replay, gang, drop this emoji in the chat because around here our replay gang is strong. It's strong around here. Okay, so yeah, I did things a little bit differently tonight. Yesterday, I did not drop a topic drop on, you guys know, on Friday Eve, aka Thursday nights, we do a topic drop and you guys get to vote on the topic. But because we were all tied up for the last couple of weeks, I just went ahead and made the executive decision to pick the topic for tonight. And you can tell by the subject line what it is, how to stay unbothered, young and free, especially during these times. I felt like it was a topic that we definitely could get into tonight that wasn't too heavy, but still made sense for what we all might be experiencing right now. I want to remind you guys that all of these Friday night kickbacks, this is week 28, by the way, the consistency. I see the consistency. So I want to remind you guys that all of these kickbacks are linked in a playlist on the YouTube channel called Friday Night Kickbacks with Kels. So if you ever miss one of these Friday night kickbacks or you just want to catch up, or you're at home and you want something to listen to while you do, whatever your little chores at home, if you're cooking or if you're in the gym or something like that, definitely click on the playlist and let it ride so you can catch up on everything that we've been talking about. Because the last few weeks have been, first of all, the whole 28 weeks of the Friday night kickbacks have been good, but you may have been missing the last few weeks just because it's summer and people are traveling and things like that. So just want to remind you that all the kickbacks are on the playlist. I see Katie in the building sipping on some coconut water. Thank you for being here, Katie. Appreciate you. Always in the building. Yeah, I'm late, so I don't even know. I know probably people are all mad and stuff, but listen, I'm here. I made it. So, and things are a little bit different this week. It's not, I didn't do the topic drop and everything like that. I just pushed out some content from last video, some little chunks of what I was saying that I thought was really important for y'all to hear. If you don't listen to the full hour, but just some chunks that I really wanted to reiterate, and so I pushed that out last night on Instagram and such, but I did not do the topic drop as usual. So next week we'll get back into it. We'll let it do what it do next week as normal, Thursday night topic drop. But for this week, we're just gonna go ahead with the topic as you guys see in the title of the video: how to be unbothered, young and free. Yeah. So cheers. Clink, 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 clink. So, let me take a sip. I will say this. I want to make sure that I think I am coming in clear, but I want to make sure that you guys can see me and hear me clearly. Yes. Here we go. Yes, so you guys can see me and hear me clearly so that we're not, so that it's not a problem that we're going live right now while we're going live. Okay. There we go. So the topic. So normally at this time, what I would probably do is I would go through and do the topic rundown. But last week it was tied up. I'll remind you again what the topics were from last week. But we didn't do the topic drop this week. But I will let you know what we kind of ran through last week. Last week, it was tied up between self-doubt as a poverty mindset and how to be unbothered, young, and free, which is the topic for tonight. So, what I decided to do was last week we talked about how self doubt is a poverty mindset, and we talked about just poverty mindsets and things like that in our last live. So, for this live, just went ahead again, made the executive decision to talk about how to be unbothered, young, and free. And the reason why I wanted to start there is because it's just a lot of stuff happening in the news right now, and a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, you know what, as a collective, let's sit down, let's talk about how to not let all of this get under your skin. And I actually did write a few notes and a few pointers down of things that I have been working on this week to keep myself in a space of unbothered, of cool, calm, and collected, of staying focused and all of that. So we'll get into all of those kind of tips or whatever we want to talk about. And of course, you guys are absolutely welcome to chime in the comments, because we learn from the collective wisdom of the It's Kels Collective around these parts. And so, yeah, definitely chime in, whether you're watching this live or if you're catching us on the replay. Yeah. So we did our cheers, but I always like to set a little bit of a intention for our Friday night lives, just so we're not like out here willy-nilly, y'all know I love that willy-nilly. We're out here, unintentionless and unfocused. And so I think for tonight, we can set our intention for this message, whatever we talk about tonight, to come through to us and to speak to everybody who needs to hear it at this time or on the replay, and for it to set off a domino effect in our spirit to make us feel happy and free and unbothered, and even in the midst of whatever's happening in the world and things like that. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the intention for tonight. Cheers. Clink, clink, clink. All right. So, actually on YouTube, even though it was tied up over the week, the How to Be Unbothered, Young, and Free ended up at 43%. So that actually was the number one from last week on YouTube. So I think last week we went with kind of what Instagram wanted to talk about. And so this week we'll go with what YouTube wants to talk about. Yeah. When I say that, I mean like what you guys want to talk about. So first things first, let's get into some of the things that you can think about to keep yourself unbothered, even though we have all these situations happening in the world right now. And I'm intentionally not narrowing in on any of those situations, because I don't want to amplify those things. We all have problems, whether it's like the problems that we see on television or in the economy or safety or health or autonomy wise, like whatever. And then not only do we have all those world problems going on right now, we also have our own personal issues going on. So whether you're dealing with something, personal, or whether you're dealing with just something collective that we're all dealing with, i.e. gas prices, i.e., whatever else is happening in the world, I think it's definitely worthwhile to like keep some things in mind to try to keep yourself, level through all of this and unbothered, and things like that. Diddy got his little F It Fridays where you release all your stress and things like that. I definitely feel that for him on F It Fridays. And then, I think stress is, I'm actually working on a project right now. And one of the biggest things of like heart issues that we see in a lot of different communities has to do with stress. So I feel like this conversation of how to remain unbothered, how to remain young and free, it might sound a little bit like, oh, how to not care, but it's a little bit more of probably how to release the stress that you don't have to hold so that it doesn't end up affecting you down the road. Or immediately. It doesn't make you have sleepless nights. It doesn't make you have ulcers and irritable bowels and, stress and, wrinkles and gray hairs and put on weight and, like all the things that when your body is thrown out of whack because you're stressed, adrenal fatigue and all these things as you age and get a little bit up in age. And when I say a little bit up in age, I don't mean old at all. I mean like over 30. All of these things all of these things can really affect how your body functions. And so the Unbothered, Young and Free is just about how to stay stress free, how to drop it, how to say F it to certain things, that so that you can just keep your sanity and keep yourself together and moving forward, and not be distracted. And I think that's one of the one of the biggest things I have on my list right here is like, about staying unbothered and being, stress free is how to focus through it, because it's all kind of a little bit of a distraction. But we'll get into that. Let's talk about the first thing on the list that I have here is, okay, how to remain unbothered, how to remain stress free, young, free, and all of that, especially during these times. The first thing I have on my list that I've been practicing this week. I heard it a few weeks ago and it stuck with me. And I was in a conversation with a girlfriend last night, and she said something and I said this phrase. And so I said, you know what? That's definitely something that we could talk about on a Friday night kickback. So the first thing of how to stay unbothered, young and free, stress free, is don't solve problems you don't have yet. Don't solve problems you don't have yet. Don't get in the practice of worrying about and trying to solve problems that you don't actually have. Okay. And this has been my mantra, as I said, for the past 2 weeks or so, because you will find that situations that are happening in the economy or in the media or happening over there in the world or even up the block or even at your mama them house or at your cousin them house, presents these problems that we have a tendency to start worrying about. And you don't have that problem yet. In fact, you worrying about it is creating the problem. You don't have that problem yet. Wait, be in the present moment and wait for that. If that problem's going to come to you, wait for it to come to you before you start strategizing on how to solve it, before you start stressing yourself out on how to solve it. You know what I mean? I'm not in the practice of solving problems I don't actually have. This came up in conversation last night when I was saying to a girlfriend some creative ideas that I wanted to work on, outside of the other ones that I'm working on a few different projects. And she said, she says, oh, but she was giving me the what abouts. Well, what about this? And, what if this and what if that? And I was like, I don't have that problem. So I'm not interested in trying to solve it. You know what I mean? And she laughed at it. And I think it really stuck with her and resonated with her, because sometimes we do need that reminder, is that we don't always have to go pick it and always have to go kick in doors and do all of these things for problems that are actually not affecting us. For problems that are actually not affecting us, or problems that we don't currently have right in front of us. You know what I mean? Because as I said, if you do that, you end up drumming up problems in your life. You know what I mean? Worrying about trying to chase down something you don't even actually have. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my first one of how to stay unbothered, young, and stress-free. Don't solve problems you don't actually have, because you just end up creating them. You know what I mean? So be worry-free. On top of that, stop worrying. Try to stop worrying. Catch yourself, notice yourself when you are worrying, when you are being worried about something that actually hasn't happened, and try to release it a little bit. Yeah. That would be my first and a little bit of second recommendation when I was thinking about this topic of how to be unbothered, young, and free. Yeah. I think the second one is, or the second or the third one, I don't even have numbers on these. I just have them scribbled on a piece of paper. I think the second or the third one is know your problems different than other people's problems. So be mindful not to take on other people's problems or issues or emotional burdens and things like that. And really, I want to tell you that when what I have on this list, they're really reminders to myself. They're really reminders to myself, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, you can forget and you can find yourself taking on the emotional labor, the emotional burden of somebody else in your life, when you are actually not the one with the problem. And in fact, when you do that, you could kind of be overstepping your bounds with the person. You might be thinking that you're so empathetic and you're so, I'm so empathetic and I'm an empath and I feel things so deeply, which I genuinely do. But I always have gotten to the point in my life where my boundaries are a little bit more firm. My boundaries are a little bit more clear, and my boundaries are a bit more in self-preservation mode, preserving myself, preserving the boundaries between me and other people. And so in so doing, I have to recognize that when I'm feeling something, am I feeling my own emotions, or am I absorbing the emotions of that person over there? Or am I absorbing the emotions of that news story over there? Or am I absorbing the emotions of that social media drama, Twitter beef over there? Being very mindful to not absorb other people's problems. Do not get wrapped up in other people's problems and therefore amplify your own. You know what I mean? And then be clear of what you're feeling. Am I feeling is this my own problem? This my own stress, or did I pick this up from them, or that conversation, or that news article, or that TV show, or that movie, or them people who was angry at the road raging, or the people who was angry in the line at the supermarket? Like, have your personal boundaries set so you can differentiate between your problems and other people's. And a lot of us are empaths. A lot of us feel really deeply. A lot of us, are empathetic and sympathetic, and absolutely rightly so. We're humans. We have beating hearts. The most of us. Most of us have beating hearts. And so, you are going to pick up some of those things, but just being mindful of, you know, where it's coming from, and being mindful to preserve yourself first and foremost. Put your oxygen mask on first and foremost. And as I said at the top of the broadcast, a lot of these are things that I wrote. This is what I be telling myself. I'm just sharing with you. I want y'all to know on these Friday night kickbacks, I just be sharing with y'all half the time what I coach to myself, what I say to myself to get through. You know what I mean? And so, I'm always looking for y'all to chime in so we can learn from the collective wisdom of the community, or ask questions. You know what I mean? And we can get the conversation cracking. You know what I mean? So that was my number top two. Don't solve problems you don't have yet, or you will never have, likely. And know your problems different than other people's problems. Know your boundaries, or your emotions, or your feelings separate. Be able to recognize them differently than other people's emotions, so you're not wrapped up in other people's, emotional ups and downs. You know what I mean? And so I think you holding yourself stable, you holding yourself cool, calm, you holding yourself in a place of groundedness and centeredness is actually the most helpful thing you can do for other people, especially when they're going through the emotional ups and downs of whatever they're dealing with, or the emotional ups and downs of whatever they're picking up from the media or from the collective consciousness. When we say collective consciousness, we just mean what most people are thinking about and feeling. And you can absolutely absorb the general feeling or emotions or fear or anxiety that's in the collective. If most people around you in your community, in your schools and your jobs, in where you shop and where you live, are anxious or worried or nervous or scared, you can definitely pick up those emotions and those sensations by proximity. You know what I mean? We are communal beings. We are communal animals. So you can pick it up. So again, just be mindful of what you're feeling, and recognizing if it's your own true feelings about a certain situation, or something that you've picked up from somebody else. And then you can work, when you can tell the difference, you can work to release both of them, honestly. Your bad feelings, or release other people's emotions. And maybe sometimes it's easier to release other people's emotions than it is to release your own fear and anxiety. But we say all of that just to make it clear that you can pick it up from other people. So try not to. Try to be mindful when you do that. Yeah. That's another way to be unbothered. Young, fresh and so clean, free. Cheers. Clink, clink, clink. This is week 28 of our Friday night kickbacks. I just want to remind y'all to smash that like button for the consistency, and also just to support the channel, to support the doll. It's a free and easy way to support the content. And I also want to let you know that pretty soon we're going to be dropping some other little offerings little things that I wanted to bring to the collective. And it'll be an opportunity for you guys to support me, but also to like get in deep in some of this work that I've been doing over the last couple of years, particularly as it relates to travel and making travel a bigger part of your life. Because if someone was to ask me what has been the biggest life altering thing or transformative thing or healing thing or elevating thing that I've done in my life, it would have to be make travel a priority in my life, particularly international travel. So I'm going to put together something for you all since I feel very, very strongly and passionately about that being one of the most pivotal, one of the most important, one of the most influential decisions I've ever made in my life. Because I feel strongly and passionately about that, I'm putting something together where I can share that with you all in case you are getting the sense or the feeling that you too would like to make travel, particularly international travel, a bigger part of your life, but maybe you just don't know how to do that. You just don't know where to start. You're running up into some blocks when you're trying to do that. So keep an eye out. We are going to launch something like that really, really soon. So I just wanted to drop that gem in here since y'all catching the Friday night kickbacks. I just wanted to drop that, but you will hear me talk more and more about that as the weeks go on, but very soon. All right. So that was a little sidebar. Okay. So going back to the topic at hand, how to stay unbothered, young, youthful, free, stress-free, how to do that. I think another option, I have my little notes right here, is what's my other option? Okay. Mind your own business. Minding your own business. Staying out of other grown folks' business. Right? Staying out of other grown folks' business. That has a lot to do with know your problems different than other people's problems. You know what I mean? Mind your own business. You don't got to know everything. Let me tell you, you could hear something and not repeat it. You could hear something and pretend like you never heard it before. You could hear something and just leave it right where it's at. Don't make no comments. Don't remember it. You can just say, oh, in one ear, out the other. Just mind your business. This is one of the biggest ways you can remain unbothered. If it don't got nothing to do with your money or your body or your children, your household, your four walls, leave it right where it's at. Leave it. If you're trying to remain unbothered, young, youthful, and stress-free, leave people business right where it's at. Over there in their business. Promise you, you'll be so unbothered. You'll be so unbothered. You know what I mean? Katie's saying, don't take everything personal is one I like to remember as well. Sometimes we overthink and create stress over analyzing. Me, I love this one. Overthinking creates stress and over analyzing. Who else is guilty? Who else is guilty of this? Because I sure am. This is me. And I literally, when I tell y'all these lives, y'all thinking I'm like, sharing stuff that I'm great at. No, I'm sharing things that I coach myself through. Leave people business. Don't overanalyze, as Katie is saying here. Don't overthink. You know what I mean? Know yourself differently than somebody else's emotions, boundaries. Leave them where they're at. Don't solve problems you don't have. I don't got that. Don't worry about that because I don't have that problem. You know what I mean? And so all of these things are how to stay unbothered, young, youthful, and stress-free. I love that one. Katie said, don't take everything personal. Don't take everything personal. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. That's a good one. I need to write that. I need to put that one down. Rube's in the building. What is saying? Rubes has been a little bit down, but choosing not to share low energy. Sometimes this means I isolate, but I just simply don't spread bad vibes. So, okay. Thank you for sharing that, Rubes. We all go through it. We all definitely go through down times, and I do like the idea of giving yourself some time to maybe chill and get your equilibrium back before going back out. I definitely think that is necessary when you're going through a little bit of a rough time. I think it's a pretty mature and self-aware thing to do, to take your time to get back to wholeness, as opposed to uh, kind of lashing out at everybody around you. Because I feel like a lot of people do the more lashing out when they're not feeling good, as opposed to chilling out and getting themselves back to balance. So, sending you all the most amazing, loving, healing, supportive vibes as you get back to wholeness. Mm. All right. Rubes is also saying, guilty. Overanalyzing has gotten better, but I still do it from time to time. Me too. Me too. You know what I mean? So overanalyzing is definitely on the list of how to stay unbothered, young, and stress-free, especially in times like these. Yeah? Yes. Oh, Roops is giving love. Tuning in here lifts me up, though. Oh, be lifted, my sister. Be lifted. Yes, always holding space for your ascension and your wholeness. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate you saying that. Love you, my sister. Love and light to Rubes. Love and light to Rubes from Katie. Yeah. All right. So Katie says, stop overanalyzing and stop taking everything so personally. Last week, I believe somebody brought up the 4 agreements. And one of the 4 agreements was don't take, yeah, isn't it don't take things personally? I believe one of the 4 agreements is don't take things personally. And it's definitely like one of the key things in life to keep yourself grounded and just sane is don't assume, don't let your mind run away with you. Don't overanalyze and don't assume the worst in situations, even if your mind is trying to turn it into that. You know what I mean? And so again, a lot of this work is about self-awareness, knowing yourself, knowing how your mind works, knowing how your emotions work, knowing the difference between what your mind is thinking and what your heart is emoting. Your heart emotes, your mind thinks. Those are 2 different bodily functions that sometimes we conflate. We don't realize that that's 2 different things. You think you're feeling with your mind, or you're thinking about how you feel. Those are 2 different things. Your thoughts and what you think are a different kind of feeling and sensation than what your heart or your body emotes, what your emotions are. So yeah, that might be a gem that a lot of people might not be aware of. But yes, 2 different bodily functions there, yeah? So to bring your awareness to the difference between the 2, that's a very powerful place to be, yeah? And let me check my phone real quick, because I'm hearing some noises, and I don't want to have to click clack, you know what I'm saying? So let me just go ahead and check these security cameras. So, all right, so hold on. There we go. We all good. All right. I don't want to have to, let the chopper sing. All right. So anyway, okay. So we talked about those things. Mind your business. Okay. So one thing also, when we're talking about being unbothered, talking about keeping ourselves young and free and still enthusiastic about life, even in with all that's going on, is knowing that, and this is kind of one of my personal things, having an awareness that some of these things that we're seeing are designed to be distractions. They're designed to be fear mongering. They're designed to be upsetting. People are actively looking for the most upsetting, the most scary, the most unsettling stories and narratives and situations to put on a platform for everybody else to consume. So just be mindful, and when you're trying to keep yourself unbothered, not everything you tune into is 100% of the truth or designed to keep you informed. A lot of it is designed to keep you scared, to keep you nervous, to keep you in fear consciousness, to keep you in poverty or lack consciousness, to keep you in anxiety, to keep you in under control. Because a population that is fearful, that is scared of hunger or food rations, or fearful that they can't pay rent, or they can't pay mortgage, or they can't pay gas, or there's a, something, that type of energy, it's easy to control a population politically, when they pump out a lot of information about that is rooted in making you scared or making you worried or making you anxious, making us combative with one another, combative in your own households and combative with your own neighbors and combative at work. So that's the design of some of this information. So if you can keep that in mind when you're looking at it, you can let it go more easily. You might be able to say, you know what, that sucks. Click. That's, I'm old school when I'm turning off the TV like this. Remember when we had to turn the TV? Who old head? Remember when we had to turn the TV like that with the two little knobs on it? Click that off. Boop. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to be scared. Don't want to be worried. Don't want to be under your control because you turn my mind into some like whirlwind of fear and scared and all of this. Don't want to. Don't want it. Designed to be a distraction. What is it distracting you from? What is all of that distracting you from? It is distracting you from your focus on your purpose. It's distracting you on the focus on the next thing that you were designed to do and that you need to do in your life. Focus on what you are doing. Don't focus, as I said, on some problem that you don't have. Focus on the food on your plate. Focus on what you're doing right in front of you. And don't let them distract you. That is a distraction. You know what I mean? And so if you go in the ups and downs with them, all you're going to do is be stressed out, old looking, upset, disillusioned, cynical. You don't want none of that. Life is too short to be any of that. In fact, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is whole first world problems. You know what I mean? So recognize it as a distraction. And every time you recognize it as a distraction, do one thing for yourself to focus on what you know you're supposed to be focused on. How about that? How about take what their distraction and put it in your own bank? And what I mean by that is when you notice it's a distraction, make sure you do one thing that you know is not a distraction, but moving you towards where you need to go. Use their distractions as a focus for yourself, as opposed to letting them distract you and put you down into a rabbit hole of doom scrolling all night, waking up and, oh my God, the president from Japan got killed and these people got shoot up, and then abortion, and then politics, and then money, then rent, then gas, then no baby formula, then this Jesus. I mean, distractions. Not saying that they're not reality, but the way the stories are spun. Sometimes create more distraction and divisiveness than anything else. So anytime you catch them trying to distract you, turn it into focus, laser focus on one thing that you could do to move yourself closer to what you know you're supposed to be doing, that is not a distraction, that is in your lane, that is your business. Keep yourself unbothered. Keep yourself young. Keep yourself stress-free. Yeah. Social engineering, Katie is saying, they just doing all kinds of foolishness. Sometimes I'm like, are they doing this intentionally? Then I'm like, maybe they're not doing it intentionally. They're just doing it mindlessly to serve their own and don't realize that it's creating. I mean, I think at this point we realize it creates problems. So I can't even pretend like they don't know. But my God, I feel like all of us need to recognize this. And to be honest with you, what I think is really interesting is, as a marketer, you guys know I studied marketing and advertising and psychology. And as somebody who studied that, academically, I can always see when that's what's happening, the PR spin, the pitch. You know what I mean? What's the key talking points that they sat down in a room and designed to write out and said, okay, we're going to push this out. You know what I mean? Social engineering, marketing strategy, all PR strategy, and all of those things to make sure people are tuned in and plugged into the messaging that they're saying, regardless if it's sensationalized or not. So I'm going off on a little tangent here. I'm a little bit of a soapbox, but the point is, if you are trying to stay unbothered, if you're trying to keep your youthfulness, your joy, and your light, your enthusiasm, if you're trying to stay stress-free, leave them people in their social engineering and their fear mongering and their doom scrolling and their worst stories they can find every single night to pump through your airways and to put on your social media. Leave them over there and make sure every time you notice that's where they're trying to draw you to, you put your focus back on what you need to do and put some energy towards that. Even if it's just to write it out in your journal. Okay, today I thought deeply for 10 minutes about this thing that I want to do, even if it's something as simple as that. Or when I took a shower, I'm going to think a little bit more about, what I'm trying to do or what I'm going to do next or what my next step is or how I'm really feeling about this or what my next decision is. Something for yourself. Feed yourself every time you notice them trying to distract you with the fear mongering. Ruby channels some of that negativity that we see into her music. In the past, she says, I have used the horrible stories and twisted them into songs for change, right? So that's taking some of that, negative, scary stuff and using creativity to turn it into something beautiful, to transmute it into something beautiful. Transmutation. Transformation, alchemy, to go from nothing to something. Alchemy, you know what I mean? So I feel that. Beautiful music. Beautiful music. Yeah. All right. So let me see here. All right. So what else we have on our list? Our little list here. Them distracting and them scamming. Out here scamming, coming up with all kinds of stories to try to make us scared. Lord have mercy. And I'm not saying that all the stories are lies. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying sometimes I don't feel like taking on that problems. I don't want them problems. I don't have to be superwoman. Quiet as it's kept, a lot of times they turn some of these problems into Black people problems because they know Black people know how to mobilize. This whole gun issue, you see, when I'm gonna just say this real quick, this whole gun issue, when you see them shooting up the schools and doing all of that and shooting, ain't no it wasn't no marches for that, but they shoot up the man up there in Ohio, Jayland, I don't know his name, and the next 2 days after the body cam footage came out, it was people marching, mobilized. So a lot of times they'll try to make the story relevant to Black people to try to drum up mobilization, to try to drum up energy, to try to drum up eyes. So I'm saying, you're not always going to drum up my attention. I'm not Superwoman. I've done my protesting in my younger days. I'm not going back out there to protest a doggone thing. And quiet as it's kept, if they don't mind sharp, I won't vote for another one of them. So I'm just trying to keep my, I'm just trying to keep my sense about me, but I will not be used as a pawn in any of these sensationalized, politicized, social engineered stories. because I'm unbothered. Okay. So stop being distracted. Okay, so then I have here, stop being distracted, learn how to focus, learn how to alchemize, learn how to transmute, learn how to turn some of the negative stories into beautiful music, like Rubes does. And then I have here also, learn to let go and let God. So this is one that I'm working on a lot, is letting go of control. Letting go of control. Understanding that what I understand of this whole thing, this whole life thing, is that it's a co-creation. It's a co-creation with the divine. It's a dance with the divine. And certain things we hold on tight to and feel like we can control every aspect of our lives. But sometimes when you do that, you just end up messing up the situation, because that wasn't yours to control. You could not create it or control it a fraction of how well it could be orchestrated if you let your hands off of it, if you let go of the situation, if you were more unbothered and more relaxed about it. It might will turn out much better than you could have imagined if you could let go of it and stop stressing it and stop trying to control and manipulate situations yourself. You know what I mean? Because certain things we do all right, but a lot of things, it's better when we just leave it alone. You know what I mean? And let it work out itself. And when I mean leave it alone, I don't mean leave it alone and worry about it. I mean like genuinely say, God, it's in your hands, and you forget about it a little bit. Let it see if it can work itself out. So that, take your hands off the steering wheel, let go and let God, let go of control, let go of doubt, let go of worry about it, is something that I work on quite a bit. And I think it is a good reminder to think of to think about that when, we're trying to stay stress-free in these streets. There's DB in the building. Hey DB, appreciate you. I guess it's dinner time. DB's making us all hungry with some of his dishes that he's whipped up on a Friday night. Yeah. DB, we're talking about how to be unbothered, young, stay juicy, young, enthusiastic, and stress-free. You know what I mean? So I think the last little thing that I have on my list here is to be in appreciation and to be in gratitude. Remember that as much as you can. Because I think, the news and the media and people in general just like to talk about every single thing that's going wrong. They like to be at the complaint counter. They like to complain about what's paining them, what's hurting them, who's annoying them, what they don't have, what they wish they had, what's not going right, and all of that. And all of that, okay, we're venting, right? We're human. Like, yes, we can vent. But also remember the other side of that. In fact, if you could remember and lean more towards the other side of that, the appreciation counter, the desire counter, the gratitude counter. If you could somehow pivot yourself from the complaint counter all the damn time to that appreciation counter, the gratitude counter, some of the time, it might work well. It might work well. You know what I mean? Not always complaining, not always judging, not always judging yourself and others, not always miserable, not always a problem, not always a pain, not always the only way to express yourself is if you're complaining. You call somebody, hey, how are you? I could be better. I put on 5 pounds, and the people that I'm at work are, are this, and so-and-so did this, and and I don't know where this is, and I wish this could, okay, complaint counter. Can we talk about what's going great? Can we balance it just a little bit? Okay, a few complaints, but then can we also say, and I did this, or or this happened, or this could happen, or I finally decided this, or I did it, I made it happen, or I'm so excited for, or man, it felt so good when this happened or when that happened. You know what I mean? Always split it. You know what I mean? Don't always be at the complaint counter. Sometimes be at the appreciation counter. You know what I mean? And I think that will really help with staying unbothered, especially during times like this. What say y'all? What you think? What you think about that? Trying to stay in a little bit of appreciation and a little bit of gratitude. It might just be looking for, just look for one little glimmer of light. Just look for one little rainbow. Just look for one little rainbow in the cloud. Just look for one little rainbow in the cloud. I want to tell you guys something. Since my dad passed away, I have seen rainbows more than I've ever seen in my entire life. In fact, the day, I think it was either the day or the day after, it might have been the same day that he passed away, I was driving to get to my brother's house, and it was raining. And the GPS gave me a weird route to go to my brother's house that I had been going to a million times, and for some reason it rerouted me. And because I just followed the GPS, and it took me some weird route, and I was like, all right, I don't know why it's taking me this way. And I was actually on the phone with Rubes, and I had to cut the corner and turn right. And it's raining, and I cut the corner and turn right into a rainbow. I had, you always see rainbows, and, they tell you get to the end of the rainbow, the pot of gold, when you're a kid, they tell you, oh, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Can you get to it? Well, this day I turned the corner and drove dead into a rainbow. Dead in the middle of a rainbow. So much so that the cars in front of me were kicking up rainbows behind them in the wheels and the water, as the cars were going through this rainbow, kicking up mini rainbows behind the car. 100 since then, I see rainbows in puddles, in cups, in water pitchers, in the sky, in reflected on shiny objects. So many rainbows. And it just feels like a gentle reminder that even in your darkest days, Spirit and the divine and God and your higher self are with you, and there is a promise of better days. So be appreciative and in gratitude, and ask to be in that spirit of wholeness and happiness again, even in your darkest days. If you guys know the story of a rainbow, that's what that is. It's God's promise. And I remember I turned right into that rainbow, and I had never experienced anything like that in my life. And since then, I see rainbows everywhere. Always a reminder. Always a reminder that lean on appreciation, lean on gratitude, look for the silver lining, look for the rainbow in the cloud. Yeah. Guys, what say you? What else do we think about when we're thinking about being unbothered, young, and stress-free? What else do we think about? Y'all got anything else to say? Add to the collective wisdom of the It's Kels community. I'm sipping on water tonight. I don't know if I said that. Katie had mentioned earlier that she's sipping on some coconut water, and I'm sipping on just some plain old H2O. You guys know for the last few weeks, I've just been sipping on plain old H2O, keeping the throat chakra lubricated so I can use my voice around these parts. You know what I mean? Sometimes I sip on a little brown. Sometimes I sip on a little green tea. But for the past few weeks, we have been sipping on some good old, just regular H2O and keeping the throat chakra lubricated. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. I don't want you to forget the back of this mug. It definitely says Kels. It's Kels Collective. It's Kels Collective merch. We're about to drop some other merch as well. Also, DB, I did do a special announcement about some little offerings that are going to be coming out soon. So if you didn't catch that live, definitely watch the replay of this, and you'll hear our little special announcement earlier in the broadcast. DB is saying, as I approach 55, I have learned to let all petty go. I don't deal with any type of negativity. Let it go. You know what I mean? Be in your own business. Mind your business. Let it go. Don't grasp onto the petty. Absolutely. I find that easier and easier to understand. I think my family's pretty good about forgiveness, and letting go of petty and forgiveness, and just letting people, letting things be petty and then leaving them where they are, you know what I mean? And not holding that pettiness over somebody else's head or trying to beat them with it, you know what I mean? So I definitely agree with you on that. Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that. It helps keep you young, at least in the heart. I mean, what is youth if not in the heart, DB? What is youth if not in the heart? And keeping that heart light, of course. Rube's heart light. There you go, babe. There's your synchronicity. Heart light. Rube's has a song called Heart Light. Yeah. All right. So quick, just to go over really, 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 really quickly, because we might just call it a little bit of an early night tonight. I do have some projects that I'm working on. I told you guys at the top of the broadcast, I'm going to be dropping some things pretty soon. So definitely have to invest some time and energy into those things. And of course, you guys who join me on the collective each and every Friday night will be the first to hear about anything that we drop new on the channel and for the community. Believe that. This is week 28 of our Friday night kickbacks, consistent every single Friday night since the top of the year, and we are into July. People, we are over the hump, and we're on the decline of 2022, okay? So just keep that in mind. We got less than 6 months to go for the rest of the year. Today, as you can see from the subject line of the video, we are talking about how to be unbothered, young, beautiful, still enthusiastic, and free, stress-free, you know what I mean? And so we talked about don't solve problems that you don't actually have, okay? Stop worrying. Don't worry about things that have not actually happened. Goes very closely to stop trying to solve problems you don't actually have. Know your problems different than other people's. Yes, we are empaths. Yes, we're empathetic, but understand the difference between your emotions and your situations and other people's, and be very clear about your personal boundaries so that you're not absorbing other people's emotions. You got to stay unbothered around these parts. You can be empathetic, but don't take on other people's emotions, particularly if they are heavy, right? Mind your business. That was one of them, what you talked about, minding your business. Katie also added, don't take things personal. Don't take things personally. Try not to. We also talked about stop being distracted. A lot of these stories that we hear that are causing us to be so riled up and so fearful and so anxiety and so stressed, a lot of them are designed to do just that. They try to make it seem like, oh, it's information. We're keeping you informed. You really need to know about X, Y, and Z. No, they're doing it to stress you out, to keep you distracted, to keep you watching their news, and I use that term loosely, channel, to keep you watching their social media channel, to keep you following their drama, to keep you following their sensationalized stuff and distracted from your own life, right? So know when you're being distracted, and instead of being distracted, whenever you notice that they're trying to distract you, use it as your own focus. Transmute it into something of your own focus. Similarly, Rube's talked about taking these negative news stories and turning them into something beautiful, like a song or like poetry or like artwork, Art has a beautiful way of doing that, of helping us transmute or transform or alchemize things from nothing to something. Yeah. Learn to let go and let God. Similar to DB, don't hold on to nothing petty, let the pettiness go. And then we also talked about appreciation and gratitude, looking at the silver lining, looking for the rainbow in the clouds. As we say, unbothered, young, and stress free. Yeah. Well, my darlings, it is always, always, always a pleasure to do these Friday night kickbacks with you. All of the kickbacks are in a playlist on our YouTube channel called It's Kells. Wait, what is it called? It's called Friday Night Kickbacks with It's Kells. So when you have an opportunity, just hit play on the playlist and let the playlist run. Just in case you've missed some of our Friday night kickbacks and you want to rehear some of the gems dropped, because I want y'all to know that the gems is heavy around these parts. The gems are heavy, all right? And just as heavy and as strong as our replay gang. Drop this emoji in the chat if you're catching this on replay. Replay gang is strong. The gems are heavy. And we're over here learning from the collective wisdom of the It's Kells Collective. Look at the Kells Collect. Look at the trademark DB's throwing up. Kells Collective family. Look at the trademark. You know what I mean? The KK. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I do these videos so you know you're not out here alone in this sometimes crazy world. If this is your first time here, love to have you subscribe. And if you're an oldie but a goodie, like DB, like Ruby, like Katie, then good looking out. Make sure to smash that like button. And yeah, support the thing. This is week 28 of our Friday night kickbacks. Next week we are on to week 29. All right, 29, consistent. And yeah, it's all love. It's all love. I hope you guys got some gems out of tonight. And yeah, if there's nothing more, I will catch you guys next week, 7 p.m. for another Friday night kickback with the doll. It's Kels. Good night, guys.